Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Mike DeHaan and Dan Austin. From wins, losses, horror stories, and tactics for optimizing your business, Mike and Dan take a real, uncensored deep dive into the ins and outs of running a full-time real estate investment and wholesaling business.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 29 of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast.
We've kept the wheels on this shit wagon for 29 weeks.
I know.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's longer than, I think that we were on the rocks for our business for longer than we were, like, long period of time than we were with this. We've been going with this for a little while. But, man, dude, I'll always remember talking about that first duplex that we bought together, and we had this whole just shit storm of stuff that happened. I went there, and all of a sudden we were spending $30-something thousand that we didn't have more on this property, and it was a lot of just BS with the property, and then some confusion on my part with the contractor. And when I say confusion, basically means that I fucked up and I did not specify what we actually wanted, and it cost us like 10 G's.
I remember that. We're just standing there, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize we were going to pay to rebuild an entire fence, right? Like, yeah. And then we're like, should we sell this thing?
I know, yeah. I didn't realize the fence either, and then we had to do the furnace, and then there was a huge bathroom plumbing issue. All came in the course of like 3 hours. Yeah, and I remember I called you, and I was like, so here's the deal, and you're like, yeah, can we just like sell it like right now?
Yep.
We would have been at
and then loss. Fast forward, we still owe it. We still own it. It's our best cash flowing asset. It's very well valued, but then the work, the plumbing, the thousands of dollars we spent on plumbing that like was bad plumbing and it leaked, and I'm like, oh my God, like what's going on here? So yeah, that was our first learning. I mean, we learned a lot, and luckily we still picked a good asset.
Yeah, I mean, I think that comes down to that's why you generally don't want to sell real estate. What do they say? Don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Yep. Isn't that how
and that was like a low point too for us just in general. And like when you look at it now, though, it wasn't that long ago, but like we burned all of our money out of it. Mm-hmm. We're cash flowing. It's our best cash flowing asset. It's cash flowing really well for us. The tenants never bother us. Mm-hmm. Like it's just simple, and it just keeps going. We don't have really any maintenance issues ever on it. Mm-hmm. Like it's just there compared to some of our other properties that cash flow less and that we might even have some money left in, and like there's just headaches.
Yeah. I mean, it's typically how it works, I feel like. Well, I mean, and to be honest, I think that is a benefit of having I don't want to say like nicer, but like a C-class property with higher quality tenants. Mm-hmm. Is, so many people fixate on the class of the property. Really, it's the class of the tenants. Totally. And if you have people that are used to living in a C-class neighborhood but are A-class people, those are going to be the best because they're used to fending for themselves everywhere else in their life. So they're going to just take care of it. Like if like little things come up, they're generally like, I'll fix this. What you want to avoid is like the C-class tenants, and like B or A-class units, because they're going to A-wreck stuff or they're not going to fix anything. Right.
They're more entitled to it, and they're stretching just to get in that unit. That's what I love about our tenants in some of our areas. Like we have a few tenants that do this. Like, hey, so I noticed this at the property. Would you mind if I fix it? And just pay me for the receipts I turn in. I'm like, totally. And I wouldn't always do that, but like it would depend on the tenant, because sometimes tenant modifications might not be good, but you have to build that trust with them and know that it's going to be okay. But yeah, I mean that is like perfect.
Yeah, what depends on what it is. It's minor. If someone's like, hey, can I, blow out this wall to make the master bedroom bigger? Yeah. I'll just let them do that. Yeah. But if it's something like, hey, this light fixture really sucks. Do you mind if I install like a new light? It's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Yeah. They're going to, maybe damage your ceiling a little bit, and you're going to have to get a new light fixture again. So what? It's going to cost you, $100 to have to do that on your own time afterwards. If it makes them happy and keeps them there for a period of time, leave it alone. It really doesn't matter. So, but
speaking of tenants, like, so we just kind of officially, we've had the contract for a 6-unit for a while, but we just officially, I did the final walkthrough. Great property. Like, was not expecting it to be that great.
Which is never said by you ever.
I know,
And if you say that, it's really good. Because I'm always like, this property's awesome. And then you're like, cool, I'm good with it. And then we buy it and you walk into it for the first time after we've paid our money. And you're like, what the hell, bro? This
Well,
place sucks.
here's how it checks some of my boxes, right? The exterior is actually good condition, newer roofs, right? The exterior, like the curb appeal doesn't look that bad. It's somewhat modern. It was probably built in, my guess, the 70s or 80s. So construction's more standardized. All the units are standardized and they are functionally built. It wasn't built and hacked together over 100 years, right? This is like a true nice multifamily. And yeah, they need carpet and paint. They don't look that great on the inside, but it's nothing that can't be done quickly and easily. And it's like rinse and repeat. When you bring in a contractor, it's like, yep, remember that unit? We're doing the exact same thing here, and it's all fits the same material packages. So even if it was in worse shape, I'd be happy with it. But it hits some of those things of ease of management, ease of construction if we have to do anything. But yeah, great unit. But speaking of tenants, so kind of became aware to us recently that all of the tenants are Section 8. Does that scare you?
That's a bad word. We don't want poor people in our properties. We want to make
Right.
things, extremely nice so we can inflate the market
Right.
and spend a bunch of money to try and squeeze out a little bit more cash flow. But at least there'll be people that can afford exorbitant rents.
Right. And so when I walked it, one tenant was kind of grumpy because she didn't get the notification because the landlord didn't do it properly. He texted them. He's an old guy, and he's like, "Oh, whoops! It said text didn't go through." I'm like, "Yeah, they're probably upset we're knocking on their door, right?"
Yeah.
But other than that, like really, really sweet tenants. I was like, "Hey, is there anything wrong in your unit?" Asked one of the tenants. She'd lived there 20 years, and she took me to the bathroom sink, and there was like a chip out of the porcelain in the sink. I was like, okay, we'll fix that if that's what bothers you, right? But everything else is functional. Very nice people. Like, oh, I hope you're a good landlord. I'm like, yeah, we're good. Trust me. But the other thing, like people like Section 8, it doesn't mean that they're bad people or bad tenants. It just, to be quite honest, several of the tenants were immigrants to the U.S. and they were older, right? And so, like, yeah, they just don't have the same opportunity as everybody else, and they're low income, but they're taking care of their unit just like they would if they owned it, right? But the other thing about that is that's government money, right? You're securing your rent from these tenants, and if they're good tenants taking care of your property, they don't want to move. And for us, as far as rent increases go, yeah, we'll have to jump through some hoops, but we can at least work with the local housing authority and say, hey, market rents are here. We know we're below it by this much. What can we do to keep your tenants in place and also increase the rents on this? Because we don't want to displace the tenants. Like, that's not our game. Like, generally speaking, if we can, we don't want to displace tenants because if they're good, long-standing tenants, it just feels unethical to just say, get out of here so we can make $200 more a month. That doesn't feel good to me. And that's the problem. Landlords get kind of dinged with that. The second thing is it costs money to move them. And if you don't need to do that, like, let's find a happy medium on price. Like, we don't need to be maxed out on value and put quartz countertops in here, which we could, and we have on units, but it was on units we weren't displacing people, and we knew we had a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, and I always appreciate you bringing that up because I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that there's a lot of people have about investors in general is that we're just trying to buy things, gentrify them, max them out, and sell them, which, really a landlord's job is to provide housing for people, and that, a lot of the people that need housing are typically the people that can't afford to buy houses. I know that's changed a lot over the recent years just with how real estate has gone up so much and most people can't afford to buy houses. But, at its core, you are providing a service for people that are in a position in their life where they need a safe place to live. The property doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be somewhere that you would live as the owner. But if it's what they want and what they're comfortable with and it's safe and it, checks the boxes of being a habitable living area, let it go, right? And I think people have fallen into that trap mainly because people buy really poor deals. Sorry about that. Do a quick cut there. Is here a camera?
I can still see it.
Right, cut there. People fall into that trap because they buy really poor deals, right? So the only way that they feel like they can make a return on their investment is if they turn it into an A-class property and they really jack up the rents. But if you're marketing for your own deals, you're doing your own negotiations, you're not competing with all the idiots on the market, and you're buying at a good price, then you don't have to go down that same route.
Absolutely.
We can literally buy this property and do very little to it. We can go to the city and say like, hey, we just bought this property. There's people that live here. The rents can be increased a little bit. Like, what do you guys think about this? And the city will subsidize that difference, and we'll make more money. And those people, probably all of them, will never leave, and we will just collect checks forever.
Yep. Yeah, and
right?
so the process, like I'm envisioning how this will work with this once we close on it. What we typically do, especially in these multifamily situations, is so we've walked it, we've done our light inspection, it's passed. Then we go back to the tenants and we say, is there anything in your unit that you would like to have changed or upgraded that's not working? Obviously, that doesn't mean we're going to completely go put them in a hotel and completely blow out their unit, make it nice for them, because that just doesn't make sense. But hey, if a tenant says, hey, my faucet drips weird, perfect, that's on the list. Mm-hmm. Hey, would it be crazy to put new carpet in my bedroom because it's trashed? Well, if you're okay with that, that costs us a few $100. Yeah, let's do that, And so we're going to fix the things that are nagging them that they would like to have done that the old landlord wasn't doing. And then make the outside, paint the outside so it looks a little bit better, maybe add some lighting outside, whatever it takes to have some curb appeal so they can be proud, like, that's where I live. I live in this place here. It's maybe not the nicest place, but it's well taken care of and well maintained, just like anybody with their home. So if we can do that, the tenants are initially going to say, these guys take care of this for us, so they're going to take care of it for us as well. And in that process, they feel a little bit better if they end up having to come out of pocket on anything for rent. And the city and the housing authority understands that we are trying to do right by them, and they're okay with providing a larger subsidy to them. It's a win-win for everybody. Because if those tenants move to another unit outside of our area because we displace them, they're still going to have to pay market rents. They're still on Section 8. The city still has to subsidize them, right? So let's try to find a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I would say it's a fine line, because we've also dealt with the tenants where you go in and they're like, oh, I want to do all this, unnecessary work for this property just because this is the standard that I want. But it's more, what are the things that need to be fixed? Are there any minor upgrades you can do that will make their quality of life better? It's like being a parent, right? Yeah. You got to be kind of firm but fair with what they're asking. Totally. And if they ask for something silly, you can say no, we're not doing that. Yeah. But if they ask for something that, you're like, yeah, that seems perfectly reasonable, don't fret. Yeah. The $1,000, couple $1,000. If you're buying properties like this, you can probably afford it. Be honest with yourself. If you're like, it'll dip into my reserves, so what? You're going to get it back when they stay there for the next year because, you got them the new dishwasher that wasn't working or whatever. Just you got to think big picture with these things. And at the end of it, if you're buying well, you don't have to do anything crazy to make really, really good returns on your money.
Exactly. Got to buy right, which we did with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, we did very well. And, and that didn't just sort of come around. I mean, this guy actually told us to kick rocks several times over the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. He initially called, I don't know if he called us or if we reached out to him via a cold call. And, I had a number of good conversations with him over the past couple of years. And several times he'd be like, I'm not interested. Or he would say well, what would an offer look like now? I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And would just keep kicking it down the lane. And then we followed up periodically. We kept going. Sure enough, now it's been a terrible winter up here in Spokane where it's been gray. This dude's been down in Phoenix just enjoying himself. And he's he's got a tan. He's like, I don't want to deal with this at all anymore. Let's just sell this thing. And sure enough, he came up. I believe this is the only time he's coming up is to sell this property. He's headed back down to Phoenix. And he's like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. And there's a few things that need to be fixed. He knows that. He doesn't want to displace the tenants. He has an attachment to them. They've been there a long time. And he's basically been like, cool, I'll sell it at a discount to you guys, directly to you, not on the market, and we'll just let it go.
Because he trusts us over those couple of years. We've built rapport with him, and he's like, okay, this is a legit person. I've built that, I trust them, so that if in fact I do want to sell and I want to make it easy and fast, which he's realized he wants to do, that they will close.
Yep,
that's it. Simple.
Yeah, right. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. Yep.
Yeah, especially with a corporate. I say corporate, with an absentee owner of a larger property that is going to be a savvy-ish investor. You'd be amazed.
He knows what it's worth.
He knows what it's worth.
He told us
Yeah.
that, right? He told us, hey, I know it's worth more than that, but I understand the situation, and that you guys buying it the way you are, I have to give up some of my profit, some of my equity. He understood
Yep.
that the whole time, and we talked through that with him.
Yeah, and when you have someone like that, you would be amazed at how far you can get just by having intent over an extended period of time. He just wants to know he's legit. I'm sure he's been around other investors that are super flaky and do all this nonsense, or come in for 5 seconds and then never heard from him again. And sure, it's a lot of work to be following up with someone for years, right? It's a lot of patience. But we are now walking into several $100,000 worth of equity in a property that will cash flow us for the next, however long we want, really. Yeah, foreseeable future.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about this is, but maybe we can pivot after this into our educational topic today, which is the lead source. Because when you drive by this thing, it doesn't look like a distressed property. And in fact, it's not distressed at all, right? You said we may have cold called him off an absentee list, or maybe he got a mailer of ours. Like you said, I can't remember that. But driving through the neighborhood, there's definitely some great properties that look like they're in distress. But the way we marketed to him versus what we see a lot of people coaching and teaching now, I think the environment has changed a little bit on how you find some of these deals. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do. I agree very much so. And that's what takes us into our topic for the second half of the show, which is, in my mind, the extreme boomer version of marketing for real estate. We just did a video talking about boomer real estate, and I'm just going to ride with this, I think, for the next few episodes. Yeah. But it is driving for dollars, and this question has come up several times in our instant investor program on what does driving for dollars look like. You hear a lot of people talk about it, and I want to talk about my opinions for it, how it can work, how it can be a waste of time. Just because it's the boomer version doesn't mean it's bad. Just understand that it's very limited in what you're actually going to be able to get from it. So really quick, we're going to talk about our group coaching program, the Instant Investor Program, and we'll be right back to talk about some driving for dollars. The Instant Investor Program is our 12-week group coaching program, which includes a self-driven course and access to our private investor community. We will take you through the full process of how we find our leads, how we market, how we do our sales and follow-up, and how we determine the best strategy for every opportunity that comes our way. On top of that, you will also join a community of other like-minded investors nationwide that are all marching towards the same goals, and you will have direct access to Dan and myself, so you can continue learning and growing with us as we continue to adapt and grow our business. So whether you're a new investor or already established, our systems can help take you to the next level. So if you think you might be a good fit, go to theinstantinvestorprogram.com and schedule a call, and we can have you talking to motivated leads in as little as 2 weeks. All right. So really quick before I dive into the driving for dollars, I just looked up that deal we were talking about, and it was indeed a cold call by our man Ricardo, getting after it on the phones.
Yeah.
It came into the system. We said it was years. We exaggerated a little bit, but it was a full year because it came into our system on May 25th, 2021. Wow. So about a full year till we got it signed around, because now it's April 2022. So it's been a long time coming.
Was that absentee? Probably corporate owned. If it was.
Yeah. So we have no, it's individually owned, absentee owned, cold call, just off of the giant list that we run. And here's the crazy thing too, is I guarantee you he's received calls from other people. Everyone cold calls these days.
Yep.
So I guarantee you he's received a lot of calls, but we're the ones that snagged. We grabbed the bag, found the treasure. So I wish I could see easier how many contacts we had. That would be an interesting thing to see. But just scrolling through our notes, it's a lot. Probably at least 30 outreaches. So anyway, driving for dollars. This is something that has been asked about several times in the Instant Investor Program. It is a very common thing for people to plug on social media as like the no-cost way that you can start wholesaling real estate.
Right. Yeah. You just need a car and a cell phone.
Yeah, and you just drive around and you find that crappy property, and then you go and you find their phone number somehow on the magic space internet machine, and you call them and you say, hey, I see that your property's looking pretty rough from the road. I wasn't creeping in your neighborhood at all. I just happened to be going through there to my friend's house. Would you be interested in selling me that property for a massive discount? And they say, F you, never talk to me again.
Well,
That's
so now,
realistically how it goes.
What I would, I would say in theory, and this did used to work, and we've paid for D guys to do it for us, like college kids and stuff. The idea being is, and there are several app services out there now that I'm sure pitch D because that's their job, right? You can, like Deal Machine's one of them. There's the D app, right? I can't remember all their names, but
yeah. So Deal Machine's a big one. I guess really quick, we didn't touch on driving for dollars. Even is driving for dollars. You drive around, you see a crappy property, and you say that person didn't take out the property. They probably need to sell it at a distressed price. And then
well,
you
the
basically
idea is you're building a list, and that's why you would have an app, right? Because usually those apps on there will tell you the owner, and then some of them can pay. You can pay for skip tracing directly through that app, so you can get their phone number, or you can just get their address and mail them. So what you're trying to do is build a list without having to, I guess, pay for PropStream or any other list type data source, which is not that much money. But the idea is you could drive around and visually see that property's in distress and see if it's owner occupied or if it's like non-owner occupied, absentee type owner, vacant, all that sort of stuff. And so now you might have a list. So say you spend a week driving around and you build a targeted list of 400 sellers, potential leads, I should say rather. And then you can do door knock them, you can cold call them, you can text them, you can mail them. And that's kind of the idea of like no money into this. But really, what we're trying to say here is that why would you spend that time these days when there's so many other ways to do this?
Yeah, and you know, they say it's no money. It requires gas. We're currently sitting on gas being $5 a gallon. Honestly, the cost per deal is probably going to be higher than if you just send a batch of mail.
No shit, yeah. But the most important thing about it is like there is a time expense with it for the quality of what you're getting out of it, and the cost may not be that much cheaper because, like, you know, what is a PropStream subscription?
So I mean, for basic level, $200 a month. For what most people can get deals from that.
Deal Machine is like $99 a month, or what?
$99 a month.
So I mean,
so now you're at 300. Yeah, you're at $300 a month, and then you gotta do the time to drive around, and then you gotta skip trace those people, which will have a cost, and you gotta send them letters. I think at its core, what you mentioned before, Dan, is key. Is it's ideal for building a list if that's what you want to do. But what that realistically needs to look like is you take that driving for dollars list that you build and you stack it against other larger lists that you pull, right? So absentee owners, people that have bankruptcies, things like that, things that you can publicly pull. And this is all stuff we sort of go over in our instant investor program that you can pull off of PropStream or other list providers. You stack them together and you can see, oh, these people have a visually distressed property and they have a recorded financial distress. I should probably market to them a little bit heavier than just like a regular absentee owner. But the funny thing is, and this is one of the reasons I hate driving for dollars, is honestly, these days, most people that have a visibly distressed property, I can almost guarantee you that they have something going on in a publicly recorded setting that is going to be some kind of distress, right?
Totally.
You know, like especially right now with how hot real estate is, if people, if they're filing for bankruptcy, their house probably looks like shit. Let's be honest. If they have liens against them, they're probably not taking care of their house. And there are definitely like ways, like deals that can probably be found driving for dollars. They're not showing up anywhere. I guarantee you there is. But now you're playing a lottery game, and in my mind, driving for dollars is an easy, not scary, passive thing that people can do, right? To feel like they are creating an opportunity for themselves, when really the thing that will get you closer to your next deal is talking to people.
Right. Well, and what's the point? What's the point of spending all that time driving around when you're just going to mail them or cold call them anyway? Yeah, and you might as well. Likely already there. It just doesn't make sense. And one thing that I would add that is pro driving for dollars, and I would say it's maybe a hybrid. So if you're driving around and you do see like a distressed property that looks distressed, like go and door knock them. Like Thatch Nguyen, I love this guy. He always talks about door knocking, and he still does videos of himself door knocking. I think that's awesome, and I do think that if that's what you want to do, like if you have the guts to door knock, I think you're going to be a way more productive time than just collecting leads to mail, honestly. But one of my other like favorite ways to do this is remember we were down at one of our Airbnbs on a weekend. I can't remember what we were doing. We were dropping something off or whatever, driving around checking properties out. and the neighbor next to us is a rental property, and the owner was out there. Hey, how's it going? Hey, we're the landlords over here. We're landlords over there. This guy owns 23 properties or something like that in the neighborhood. That right there, that conversation is valuable. We swapped business cards, so we know, hey, told the guy, hey, if you ever want to sell, call us. Like, we love buying houses. We like to take care of and do all this sort of stuff. And so I've always found, like, when you're renovating a property, like if you have one under contract, that's the time to be out in that specific neighborhood you're in, looking at distressed properties in your neighborhood. Go door knock them. Go be friendly with the neighbors. I know more people that have gotten deals from talking to the neighbors of their rental properties or their personal residence than people driving for dollars just doing it, just driving around collecting lists.
I mean, you've done it several times.
Right. I guess I have. I forgot that I've done it personally.
Yeah, right. And well, that goes back to what I was saying before. You're talking to people. You know, you are creating those opportunities. You're instigating some kind of rapport building transaction, right? Like you're getting things moving forward that way, because just because the house sucks doesn't mean they want to sell to you. However, if they know that you know the house sucks and they know who you are and they know that you have an interest face to face more than just like over the phone, they're going to be much more likely to do business. Now, obviously, you know your neighborhood. If you're going and doing this through the hood, don't be an idiot. So like Thatch, right? Doesn't he live in like Bellevue? It's like, yeah, I'll go door knock in Bellevue. Yeah. Are you gonna like find a Microsoft employee whose ex-wife like doesn't want to take care of the house anymore? Right. Like, that's fine.
Right. Well, and his business model is a little different because he's doing a lot of like ADU conversions and apartment building type townhomes and stuff. So door knocking $1 million home for him, even though in his mind is actually valued at $3 million if he does what he wants to do, it's a totally different story, right? But I still believe like that foundation, if you're going to do it, like that's actually a more productive way to do it, because A, you're learning how to talk to people, like literally talk to people. And a lot of folks are scared of that. And B, especially if you're targeting an area you're already investing in, I do think that's valuable, but it's not something I'm going to intentionally do every week and drive around all day and look for these opportunities, because I don't think that is worth your time at all.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you know, it's like every other sort of passive activity. You know, it's like the equivalent of my idea of looking for a deal is sitting on Zillow and just cruising through the MLS and looking, right? There are absolutely deals on Zillow every single day. But if I find one a week, that is way less valuable than if I send a bunch of mail, I make a bunch of cold calls, you know, or I even talk to a bunch of other investors and realtors, and I'm now analyzing 10 deals a week instead of that one. I'm having 10 conversations instead of one. That's what will get you moving forward, you know. Absolutely. And I think as well, the issue with driving for dollars these days is, you know, my kind of call, like the boomer version is, before real estate kind of exploded or started to explode, you could probably do really well that way, because, I mean, even like 2016, 2017, if you had kind of a crappy property, you couldn't sell it. Now you can sell a crappy property on the market in 5 seconds. It's like, sure, you might not get retail, but they're going to get more retail than you want to pay for as an investor. Right. You know, let's be honest.
I mean, I was still trying to make offers on deals on the MLS, and you were able to actually get pretty good deals in 2018. But if you're trying to build a business on gurus or coaching from that their heyday was like 2016, that's probably not. You got to adapt. You got to adapt. You got to grow.
Yeah, even earlier than that. I mean, a lot of the driving for dollars people that we know, you know, like people on Bigger Pockets talk about this, or, you know, other people, I don't really know how to put their names on blast. Yeah. You know who you are. You're posting Instagram stories right now about this. But you know, they were doing things like even before that, 13, 14, like when we were still in the recovery. And then 16 was when it started getting interesting. But, I mean, one of our local, I guess, ex-competitors doesn't really exist anymore. At one point, they had entire teams of guys that were out there driving for dollars and door knocking, and that's how they did all of their business.
Right. Yeah, and it did. You're right. It made sense. It was a totally different market environment, and now it's not the same. In 3 years from now, maybe it's good again. I don't know, but it's not good right now.
Yeah, I know. And with that company that used to do that, where are they now?
It's a one-man show. Yeah,
it's a one-man show. You know, he next to everyone, and he's operating as a solo operator now. You know, running a leaner ship, and he's doing what everybody else is doing. That's doing deals, which is sending mail, having conversations, picking up the phone. You know, doing the hard part. Yep. And I mean, I think that's just such a key thing. And even if you are marketing, you know, like we do, you're just doing all the practices, right? That talking to people is so key. And
So
this is something
if you're
that
like,
yeah.
let me ask you this. So if you're a new investor and like you don't have any money or you have a very little bit of money, like what are you gonna do? Hey man, all I have is a car and a cell phone. Like that's why I'm trying to do driving for dollars. Like what else do you do? If we're saying that's probably not the best use of your time, what is the best use of your time?
So honestly, what I would say, if you're serious about wanting to be an investor and you don't have any money, go work for an investor that's actually getting deals done and be their acquisitions manager. Because what you're going to do is you're going to get exposure to the investment process and you're going to learn the hard part about running a real estate investing business, which is having the acquisition conversation.
Right.
You know, and if they're a legit company, you will probably make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
and you know, and if you don't like start to make some decent money, then you know, or if they're not paying you what you need, then try to take down a deal yourself from them, from having the opportunities that they are finding. Flip your own house. This is what our sales guy James just did. He just closed on a flip. I think his net after everything said and done was like 38 grand.
That's awesome.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
that's amazing.
You know, and it was a deal that he bought from the business. He got paid a commission when he bought it, right? He didn't quite have enough money to take it down. So, you know, but we trusted him. We've been working with him for a while. So we lent him the down payment. We ended up helping him get a loan. You sort of coached him through the whole renovation process. We helped him with the listing. He made 38 grand. And now you know what? He's set up to go and do, you know, so many other investments. And, you know, I mean, if he wanted to go honestly start his own business, he could. He'd have to do all the systems, all that if he wanted to. But either way, he has such a strong financial base now that is going to set him up for the rest of his life if he's smart with it.
Absolutely.
And along that whole period of time, for the last, I think, like 8 months he's been working for us now, he's gotten up to an aggressive clip where his pay is just growing and growing and growing as he is learning to have better conversations and close more deals himself.
Yep.
So now he's going to have a high-paying job. He's going to have investable cash. That is where the opportunity comes from. You know, and there's so many people that are like, you know, I don't make any money. I want to become a real estate investor so I can change my life. No. Go and find real estate investors, start to work with them, find the people that are doing what you want to be doing, you know, show them that you're worth it and make your money, like build your base there and then go and start investing. Like it's a pay to play business. Anyone says that you can just go and take pictures of shitty properties and send them letters and you're going to make, you know, life-changing money, they're lying to you, or they're basically, you know, you're basically just trying to win the lottery at that point, honestly.
Right. Yeah, it's about having great intention, and that's what I love about our acquisitions manager, James, is he didn't have any experience in real estate when he came to us. He wanted to be in real estate. He understood that's where wealth is built, and he came to us, which was massive intention to leave his career before that to come with us, and look where he's grown, just like you just said. Look all that growth he's getting, because that intention, that truly want to be in real estate, not just saying, well, I just want to own some rental properties and I'll work at Applebee's during the day to pay for it. That's not going to happen. Like, go take that massive intention if you truly want to do it, because like that is where wealth is built.
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't easy. He's had his ups and downs. He's had great months. He's had terrible months. But he's built up to a level of consistency and competency now that it is just regular intervals of success, you know, and it's just like everything in real estate. It is periods of extreme growth and success followed by kind of dead periods, right? And that's just the business regardless of where you're at.
And the measure of wealth in the context of what we're talking about isn't just dollars and cents going in your bank account. It's the knowledge you're building so that you can scale the dollars and cents in your bank account.
Yeah, and that's the most understated thing, and that's almost a good topic for another time. Is
right.
You know, the best. This was super cheesy that all the gurus post on Instagram is like the best investment you can make is in yourself. You know, and people are like, "You're right. I'm going back to college." And you're like, "No, you missed."
No, you missed. Yeah, exactly. I'm getting my 3rd degree.
Yeah, right. Oh god, another topic. So, cool. All right. Well, I think that covers it. So, I guess as a summary, driving for dollars, kind of a waste of time. If that's your sole purpose, it's not going to be the cheap, quick way to get rich. But if you're using it appropriately with the other kinds of marketing and data strategies that you can easily use, that anybody can go and do, you know, that we teach in our Instant Investor program, it's a great way to sort of give you a little bit of an upper edge, but it's not going to be the magic button. I'm sorry. And I wish people would stop acting like it was and stop selling it as a get-rich-quick scheme, because it's just a giant waste of time, let's be honest. So, well, it's a giant waste of time with that mindset.
Agreed.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. you should go and check out our social media at Collecting Keys Podcast on Instagram. We got a good clip of stuff coming through there now with different highlights and content I'm pretty excited about. You can follow us individually on Instagram. I'm at Mike_invests. Dan is at InvestorManDan. You should go and check out our group coaching program, the Instant Investor Program. It is a community of nationwide investors that we are teaching to build a business exactly like our own. We go through all of the marketing stuff that we talked about. We go through how we build our system, how we do sales processes. It's a DIY course with a weekly group call with us where we can sort of help keep you accountable and help sort of move you along as you're going through the ups and downs of this business. And then besides that, we got a lot of stuff going on. We've got a new YouTube channel coming out. It's a little bit different from the podcast. It's called The Mike and Dan Show, and it is going to be more of a visual version of this stuff. We're going to get into the weeds about other stuff in real estate, more specifics about deals that we've done. So you can go and keep eyes open for that. It hasn't officially launched yet. It may launch by the time this comes out. This will be a couple of weeks, but we'll see. Cool. And then besides that, anything to wrap up, Dan?
No, I'm good. I'll sign us out. This is Investor Man Dan with Magic Mike. Come back next week. We'll be performing every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. Oh man, that was almost not a bad outro. Almost. We're getting there. All right. Thanks everybody. See you next week.
Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out at collectingkeyspodcast.com for tips and guides on starting your own real estate investment and wholesaling business.